My name is Melanie. I'm 32 years old, and my life has settled into a rhythm as predictable as the city's traffic. I live alone in my small apartment, a quiet space that echoes with the silence I carry home each night. My work as a nurse at the big city hospital is my anchor, the one place where I feel truly grounded and profoundly happy with my job. My patients like me, and I find deep satisfaction in comforting them. The doctors trust me with their most critical cases, relying on my steady hands and calm demeanor. Yet, when my shift ends and I exchange the hospital's fluorescent lights for the dusky evening sky, a profound sense of emptiness descends. The transition from the purposeful chaos of the hospital to the stillness of my apartment always leaves me feeling strangely lost, as if I've misplaced a part of myself along the way. The fateful encounter one unremarkable evening, I was walking home, lost in my usual post-work thoughts. The street was quiet. Suddenly, the sharp sound of tires braking too late shattered the calm. I felt a jolt from behind, a sudden push that sent me stumbling onto the hard pavement. My back scattered and the world tilted. Luckily, the car hadn't been driving fast. I was more shaken than injured, a wave of shock coursing through me as I tried to process what had happened. Almost immediately, a man rushed out of the car. He was wearing a finely tailored suit, and his face was etched with genuine worry. He knelt beside me, his voice laced with concern as he gently held my hand to help me stand up. "Are you hurt? Did you get injured?" he asked, his eyes scanning for any sign of harm. I brushed the dust from my coat, my heart still pounding. "No, sir." "I am okay," I assured him, though my legs felt unsteady. He insisted I sit in his car, offering repeatedly to drive me home. I declined at first, wary of strangers, but his persistence was wrapped in such sincere apology that I finally relented. The short drive passed in a blur of his polite questions and my brief answers. When we reached my apartment building, I managed a grateful smile. "Thank you, sir. Thank you for dropping me home." He left with a warm, lingering smile that stayed with me long after his car had disappeared down the street. An uninvited memory back in the solitude of my house, I found I could not stop thinking about him. His concerned eyes, his gentle manner, it played on a loop in my mind. "Stop it, Melanie," I told myself firmly, trying to drown the thoughts in the sound of the running shower. "Stop thinking about him. He was just a kind stranger who helped you." I chided myself for constructing fantasies around a simple act of decency. Yet the memory refused to fade. A surprising reunion. A few days later, I was back in my element, tending to patients in the hospital's busy ward. My next patient was a man with a minor head injury. When I pulled the curtain aside, my breath caught. It was him, the man from the car. A bandage was needed for a cut on his forehead. Recognition flashed in his eyes, and he smiled, a bright, familiar expression that made my stomach flutter. "We have to stop meeting like this," he joked softly. I composed myself, focusing on my task as I carefully wrapped a bandage around his head. Trying to sound lighthearted, I asked, "How did you get injured, sir? Did you hit someone again?" He laughed, a warm, rich sound. No, I did not hit anyone. I was clumsy and fell from the stairs at home." We shared a laugh, an easy connection sparking between us in that sterile room. He then asked about my work schedule, his tone casual but intent. "Melanie, do you work here every day? When do you leave for your house?" I told him, not thinking much of it. Then he said, "Then I will wait for you downstairs at the hospital entrance. I will drop you to your house. It's the least I can do." I felt a blush creep up my cheeks. "You don't need to do this much for me, sir," I protested. But he shook his head, his expression sincere. "You helped me when I was worried, Melanie." Now it is my turn to help you. The beginning of something that evening, and many evenings after, we drove together in his car. What started as short rides home lengthened into hours of conversation parked outside my apartment. We talked about everything: our dreams, our pasts, the small joys and frustrations of life. He was charming, attentive, and made me feel seen in a way I hadn't in years. Slowly, cautiously, we both fell in love. He began staying with me at my house, and my once quiet apartment filled with shared laughter and the comfort of companionship. We spent more and more time together, and for a while, the lonely void I carried seemed to have been permanently filled. I felt a happiness I thought was reserved for other people. A shattering discovery, but the good days, as I would tragically learn, do not last. One bright morning, I went to the local market to buy groceries, enjoying the simple normalcy of the task. As I walked past a small bakery, my steps froze. There he was, the man I loved, standing in the warm glow of the bakery window. He was not alone. A woman, her hand resting comfortably in the crook of his arm, was laughing at something he said. Beside them stood a child, a boy of about 10, looking up at him with admiration. They looked like a portrait of a perfect, happy family. My heart didn't just break. It ceased to beat for a terrifying moment. The air left my lungs. He had cheated me. He had lied to me. All this time he had a wife and a child. The world around me blurred as hot, silent tears filled my eyes. I turned and ran straight home, the groceries forgotten, a vision clouded by a pain so sharp it was physical. Confrontation and heartbreak in the evening, he came to pick me up just like always, his knock a familiar rhythm on my door. But this time, a cold fury had replaced my heartbreak. I swung the door open, my entire body trembling. "How dare you cheat on me?" I spat, my voice shaking with rage. "You have a wife and a kid. Do you have no shame at all, betraying not only me but your wife too?" He looked utterly confused. Then his face settled into a pathetic, guilty calm. "Melanie, I love spending time with you," he said, as if that explained anything. "Don't worry. My wife does not know this." His words were the final blow. "I am not a club girl," I shouted, my voice cracking. "I will not spend time with a man who lies." I pushed him away from the door and slammed it shut, collapsing against it as sobs racked my body. From that day on, he never came again. He was simply gone, leaving behind a silence heavier than before. A cynical heart in the aftermath, I threw myself into work. A new doctor named Andrew had started at the hospital. He was handsome with a kind smile that made all the other nurses flutter around him. But I did not care. My heart was encased in ice. I didn't even look his way. I was done with men, done with trust, done with the fragile hope of love. One morning, walking to the hospital, my mind was so clouded with residual sadness that I wasn't paying attention. History cruelly repeated itself. A car hit me again, a slow, glancing impact that resulted in a minor injury on my knee. As I sat on the curb, the driver's door opened. It was Andrew, the new doctor, his face pale with alarm. A bitter, hysterical thought shot through my pain. God, am I the only person in the world who always gets hit by a man's car? An unexpected connection, Andrew quickly and professionally bandaged my knee right there on the sidewalk. I looked up at him, anger flaring not at him, but at the memory his kindness invoked. "Don't bother, doctor," I said coldly. "Don't tell me to sit in your car and that you will drive me home. Don't worry. I can walk on my own." He looked surprised at my hostility but didn't push, respectfully letting me go. A week later, I was busy with a patient when Andrew came hurrying toward me, his expression earnest. "I am so sorry, Melanie." I am sorry I accidentally hit you with my car, he said, finally offering the apology. Then, as he turned to rush to another patient, he tripped spectacularly, falling right onto his knees. The sight was so absurd, so unexpectedly clumsy that I couldn't stop myself. I laughed loudly, a genuine sound that had been foreign to me for months. He looked up, grinned sheepishly, and from that moment, something shifted. A new love and a new fear, just like that, Andrew and I started to become closer. He was funny, genuinely kind, and patient with my walls. We spent hours talking, and he slowly chipped away at my cynicism. One evening, under the soft light of a restaurant, Andrew told me he loved me and wanted us to be together. I realized I loved him too. But the fear was a living thing inside me, coiling tight around my heart. "Promise me, Andrew," I whispered, my voice desperate. "Promise me that you will never leave me." He held my gaze, his own eyes serious and true. "I promise," he said. We began to live together, and for a while I dared to believe in happiness again. A disappearance and despair then, one day I felt unwell. A test revealed the incredible, terrifying news. I was pregnant. A surge of joy cut through my fear. I immediately messaged Andrew, my fingers trembling as I typed our big news. His reply was swift, filled with overflowing happiness, digital hearts, and kisses. But the next day, Andrew did not come to the hospital, or the day after that. Panic, cold and familiar, began to rise. My friends tried to find him, but he had vanished without a trace. A month passed. Andrew never came back. The betrayal felt like a physical wound, reopening the old one. I stopped going to the hospital, consumed by grief, left alone in my house to cry for the future I had lost again. A market and a misunderstanding one afternoon, forcing myself out for food, I went to the market. And there, amidst the stalls, I saw him, Andrew. He was laughing, looking healthy and happy, standing with a woman. My heart shattered into a million pieces. It was confirmed. Andrew had cheated on me just like the first man. A wave of nausea hit me. I ran, not wanting him to see my devastation. I reached my house, shut my room door, and fell to the floor, consumed by a grief so profound it felt endless. Why had I ever been foolish enough to believe again? The truth at the door the next day, I felt hollow and weak. The doorbell rang, an intrusive sound in my tomb of sadness. I opened the door, and there stood Andrew. "I am sorry I left you alone, Melanie," he began. My vision tinged red with a fury born of immense pain. Before he could say another word, I slapped him, hard. Then again and again, until my hands stung and my anger was spent. I began to shout, every hurtful word I could think of pouring out. "Rascal, bastard! How dare you make fake promises? You deceived me. You were laughing with another woman in the market. Go away from here." I slammed the door, sinking to the floor, utterly broken. A revelation and reunion. Then his voice came, muffled but clear, from the other side of the door. "Melanie, I love you. I will always love you, even if you beat me. When you messaged me about our child, I was overjoyed. My sister lives in another city. She's the only family I have left. I went to bring her here to share our news. But on my way, I had a terrible accident. My car was crushed. My phone was destroyed. I didn't even remember your number. I was hospitalized, unconscious, for a month. My sister stayed by my side. The woman you saw, that was her. I came back as fast as I could. If you are angry, I will go. I will come back when you are ready, my love." He began to cry. His words pierced through my rage and despair. I scrambled up and yanked the door open, throwing my arms around him. "I was so afraid," I sobbed into his shoulder. "I was afraid you left me. I am so sorry, Andrew. I hit you." I never even thought that you suffered too. A healing and a new beginning. Andrew picked me up and carried me inside. His sister was already there, waiting anxiously. She welcomed me with a hug, her eyes kind. Then she noticed Andrew's red, swollen cheeks. "Brother?" she asked, confused. "What happened to your face?" Andrew looked from her to me, a soft smile on his lips. "Melanie just kissed me very hard," he said. "It made my cheeks red." The three of us laughed, a sound of relief, forgiveness, and burgeoning joy that filled my small apartment with true light. The next week, Andrew and I married. We live together now, our love fortified by trial and truth. And we have our new baby, a little soul who is surrounded by the honest, resilient love that finally found its way home.